Welcome to tonight's Leinster Rugby Roundup show, the Leinster Laighin part of the ThreeBOD Rugby Group. Tonight's show is brought to you in conjunction with Rugby Academy Ireland, a pioneering international rugby academy helping aspiring players enhance their rugby and lifestyle skills through practical training and a bespoke curriculum, equipping students with an excellent education and the qualifications needed to begin a career in professional rugby, be that as a player, a coach, a referee, a video analyst, a performance analyst, and much, much more. Also, tonight we are supporting Chef's Blend from coffeedog.ie, a premium range of coffee beans and ground and specifically made in the image and style of our own chief bloke and tonight's producer in the TMO truck, BJS Big Joe Shepherd. Finally, we are supporting PGM Financial Services, who provide financial planning, advice relating to retirement planning, life assurance, and health insurance. Each month in our Rugby Roundup show, we look at all aspects of rugby within and affecting the Irish province of Leinster, including grassroots, provincial, European, mixed ability, visually impaired, wheelchair, women's, schools, and much more. On this month's show, we'll be looking at last weekend's European Champions Cup final, the forthcoming International Mixed Ability World Cup, this weekend's URC quarterfinal against Glasgow Warriors, and there's a chat with a very famous Leinster player. We have two special guests to help us discuss it all. I'm Gerry Sweeney, and my co-host tonight is Mr. Conor BROOMFIELD, and you're very, very welcome to tonight's show. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Conor. How are you?
I'm pretty good, all things considered. Few days to recover. Still wearing black.
I was just going to say, should be wearing black armbands tonight or something like that. Let's be dramatic.
I ditched my Leinster this week and said I'd wear black. No, it wasn't the conscience. It's actually in the wash. I've got over the loss. In fairness, Gerry, you know, it wasn't quite as painful. It didn't feel quite as painful as some of the other losses. Probably because there's such a good crowd at La Rochelle, and you could see the sheer joy they took. Look at that photo. You know, a town of 70,000 people. I heard reports there was 40,000 out for the homecoming. You know, this is like Limerick 2006. You know, for sheer connection with their community, the sheer elation, the whole party atmosphere afterwards. You could see what it means to a club in a town, a victory like that. So well done to them. You know, we've lots to discuss on the final, but you know about the match, where it was won and lost, and Leinster's inadequacies on the day. You know, we've a bit to talk about that, but first and foremost, well done to Claremont, or to La Rochelle. Pardon me.
Freudian slip.
Yeah, I know. I was just you know, it's our wins in France are hard earned. I think that's our stumbling block away in the to French teams. It's always been our downfall. I think, you know, it was actually Claremont, ironically, was one of the big ones we did win. Back in 2012, the semi-final. So the match itself, Gerry. I don't know. We could have won it. We didn't quite deliver on the day, but ultimately we could have won. But I suppose we have to ask why were we in that position in the final play of the game, defending our own line. I think people are I don't know. Ultimately, there was mistakes made during the game. Sexton's mess up in his own line where he tried to run out and make a few yards before kicking it. Jameson Gibson Parks high tackle that gave them field position towards the end. But ultimately, I think we shouldn't have been in that position, and the reason. One of the main reasons why we found ourselves in that position is I think we didn't quite play to our potential. We defended very well. Our discipline was good for large portions of the game, which allowed us get into a lead. But ultimately, we didn't score a try. We didn't score one try, and I can't remember the last time Leinster didn't score a try. I'm thinking off the top of my head, we bet Sebre 3-0 away a few years ago in a Pro 14 game, but we didn't see any of the play that's been a hallmark of Leinster all season. You know, them pods of players running off Sexton and changing the point of attack and getting the ball out wide very fast, very quickly.
They weren't allowed to it. Shadow coming up in the line, you know, flying up on the outside, that big claw like the All Blacks used to do years ago. It's absolutely smothered them. They just didn't allow Leinster to play it on, and Leinster doesn't seem to have any answer to it.
So do you think that's all down to Ronan O'Gara doing his homework and getting the players to execute them the defensive plays, or do you think we played a bit within ourselves because there was a final and there was sweltering heat and etc.?
Yeah, I mean, the heat might have been a small element of it, perhaps. I mean, it was warm for them as well. No, I just think Ronan O'Gara did his homework. And if you look at Mr. Skelton, the best kept fitness secret in professional rugby for the past 3 months.
It's incredible.
I don't know what he was injected with, but I can tell you now, I'd like some of that before I go out at the weekend because it was absolutely fantastic. I put in an unbelievable 80 minutes. You know, 80 minutes.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Break a sweat.
A week or two ago, we were told he wouldn't have a chance of playing in the final. Then they sneak him onto the bench for the last match before the final. And
Joe's comment there, Will Skelton has given me hope. And we hope he's going to give us all hope, Joe.
and he was one of the best players on the pitch and played the full 80 minutes of a highly intense match, a European final. So it was quite incredible. One of the standout players he was, of course, and Gregory Aldridge was another, and we expected it from him, didn't we? One of the leading back row players in the world. I think, as you said, though, a huge amount has to go down to O'Gara, and every player knowing his role on the day, and
Donegal Ryan as well.
Donegal Ryan as well, absolutely, and that's I think that's the ultimate test of a coach, like to be able to figure out the appropriate game plan, and then to be able to communicate it to the players in a secondary language and
make them believe that they can actually win.
Make them believe, and I'm sure that's what he was saying. He referenced or he alluded to Leinster's away record not being as good as they are at home. And I'm sure he was just drilling that into the players all week. Get these lady boys out of D4, and we have they're out of D4. We have the beating of them here. You know, just get stuck into them, knock the socks out of them. Fast line speed, make your tackles. And
disrupt. The most disruptive game of rugby I've seen in a long time. It was.
And yet still we were 8 points ahead with 20 minutes to go. And I believe, despite all that, there he is, signed on to 2026. The future is black and yellow, I think.
Yeah.
So we were in that position to win it. Despite all their successful strategy and their ability to implement it. Like, you know, if you were put down to moments, I think that mix up between Sexton's error on his own line that allowed him back into the game was probably a big turning point. Do you think? And I've heard it suggested a lot. We should have gone for tries. Do you think we it was a wrong decision to take points and all them penalties and not put pressure on them?
There's a famous phrase, hindsight is the foresight of a job. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
we were getting huge purchase on our roll maul, massive purchase. La Rochelle just didn't seem to be able to defend it when they were coming in from the side. There's a lot to be said, perhaps, that we should have been kicking the touch more often to try and get that advantage. But the big problem was, though, come the next breakdown, they were in so fast to disrupt. There was no guarantee that you were going to hang on to the ball. So, Cup rugby, do you keep the scoreboard ticking over, or do you take those chances? I think Johnny Sexton might be thinking about that for a little while to come.
Absolutely, he'll never forgive himself. Just Joe has a question up there. Does the panel think there's any issues that we have lost 3 stars, 3 years on the bounce in a similar manner? That's an interesting one, because I don't think we were beaten out the gate by Saracens 2 years ago. We were totally overpowered by the same opponents, La Rochelle, last year. And again, we lost the physical battle, but yeah, we were in a much better position to win this time. So there's definitely learnings there. I think there's definitely learnings, and I don't think the answer is to import a couple of huge South Africans. I think we have to stick to the Leinster philosophy and stick to developing player skills and developing the team's plays and strategies. So I'd hate to see Leinster just trying to match power with power. Having said that, I thought we would do this. It was very hopeful this year, to be honest. But fair play to Rog, yeah, fair play to Rog and all his supporters down in Munster.
I hear FedEx are flying La Rochelle t-shirts and jerseys into Limerick and
oh my God! The interesting one now is Rog has been linked with the England head coach's role after Eddie Jones leaves. Well. So I just put it to any Munster supporters: are they going to be flying over to Twickenham and cheering on England when they play Ireland when Ronan gets that job?
I think he'll bide his time for another little while. You know what I mean? His stock has just gone up massively in the last couple of days since that win at the weekend.
Oh, hugely, yeah. And it sounds like Ronan and his family are enjoying France, and he's enjoying the lifestyle, and probably enjoying being outside the microscope of the Irish media as well.
Yeah, I think so. Pretty much left
So I'm sure he's in no rush, and he's proven himself to be hugely successful over there. So why would you be rushing back here? They're tough gigs. Both the Ireland gig, and the Munster gig are very tough gigs, and they're not necessarily a platform to bigger and better things. Like look at the Ireland head coach. First of all, Joe Schmidt, he's got back into management now and one of the New Zealand franchises. But his career ultimately ended in failure with Ireland. After having years of success with both Leinster and Ireland, he's remembered for the dark final days of 2019. Would
be the cynics out there that would say that some others should have gone with him when he went, and some of those others might be the ones that are preventing Ronan O'Gara to even think about coming back to Ireland?
Absolutely.
Might be more inclined to come back. What do you think of that?
Yeah, he's a smart operator. I think possibly he'll see a role back in Ireland as a later career move. If he's I'm sure he's very conscious of the fact that if things go wrong with Munster or Ireland, he might struggle to get another gig. It's a high risk game, rugby management, any sports coaching at that level. You're only as good as your last gig.
Were you going to make a comment about Declan Kinney there when I cut across you?
No, I was just thinking out loud about the list of Ireland coaches and where their career went after they finished in that role. Kidney, Eddie O'Sullivan, he
doesn't mean podcast.
He was ostracized from rugby management after his Ireland gig. Most of them don't go down. Their careers go downhill after they leave the Ireland post. So which I'm sure Ronan is conscious of that and conscious of the pressure taking over Munster. Maybe he's waiting a few years until all these academy lads come through and they're in a stronger place. That'd be the smart move, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to swing it back around out to Leinster again, and we're going to ask you about Sean O'Brien being announced this week as was a contact coach or contact and skills coach for Leinster. Is he going to be able to sort out all the problems that we have?
Yeah, he's taken over Dennis Leamy's role basically, isn't he? Be focusing on the forwards amongst other things. Shawnee's been involved in coaching since his early playing days, with Tullamore FC, and he's involved with it over at London Irish as well. So he's I think he's always been earmarked as one of them players that's going to get into coaching. I probably didn't expect it quite this soon, to get back with Leinster, but the opening was there, so I suppose there. And he'd be learning the trade at this level under none better than Leo Cullen, so it'd be fine. I think
the boots hadn't even been taken out of the kit bag yet, and he'd already had another job. It's quite extraordinary.
Yeah. That's the nature of sport, though, isn't it? And coaching, yeah. Some players just go straight into, and a lot's down to personality and your ability to communicate the message. And sometimes some players do better as coaches earlier in their career when their memories on the pitch are still fresh. Listen, he'd be in a junior role in the setup basically. So amongst the team. So I think he'll do well. I hope he does well anyway. Well, he's a good team around him, but certainly an interesting one to follow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will we move it on a little bit? Time as always is chipping away. All right then. So I'm going to let you introduce this gentleman.
Yes. Okay. Over the last few months, 2023, both the ThreeBOD group and 4 provinces, the group I run, and a number of other groups have come together for a joint initiative program covering all aspects of rugby, inclusive rugby, mixed ability, visually impaired, etc. And one of the events we've been helping to promote and connecting with the people involved was the International Mixed Ability Rugby Tournament, being hosted by our friends down in Cork, by Alan Crockwell and the team down in Cork, Sunday's Well Rebels, and that's taking place next week at Musgrave Park. Tonight we have a very special guest with us, none other than the captain of that Sunday's Well Rebels team, Mr. Richard PHILPOTT. Richard.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
How are you? Thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm very well. So here we are now, 4 days from the opening ceremony. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I am ready for this. This is something that we've waited 5 years for, and it is time. We're ready, and we're waiting.
That's brilliant. You're all pumped, and of course you were due to host a couple of years ago, weren't you? But then COVID struck, and it's been delayed 2 years.
That is correct. Yes. It was around St. Patrick's weekend of 2020 when the breaks were pulled because things were just getting worse and worse, and there was no sign of anything getting better anytime soon. So now it was disappointing, but I mean you have to look at the benefits. You always have to look at the benefits, and I think those 2 years have given the committee, particularly Alan and Liam, time to prepare and plan and really think about what's involved there. Because you have 11,000 players coming with 28 teams from 14 nations. And you also have delegations coming from nations such as Poland and Malta and New Zealand, who are all looking at setting up their own teams in those countries. And you have to look at the wider scale. How are we going to accommodate all those people? So I think the 2 years helped. They were hard, but they helped in their own way too.
Absolutely. You're in a better spot, and I think the tournament is. I see in recent weeks the number of sponsors that have come behind it, like Smurfit and Heineken, and big news outlets. I see RTE have been covering it, the 42 podcast. Saw in our articles, of course, in the Examiner and other daily publications. So it's great to see. Just tell us a little bit about mixed ability rugby and who it caters for, Richard.
Yeah, sure. So inclusion on its own is not a new concept. That's been around for as long as I can remember. But you wouldn't think of rugby as a sport, where you can have people with disabilities. Because I mean, of course, there is the risk of injury, but the scope is so much greater. Because I mean, disabilities take all kinds of forms. You have the physical, you have the mental, and just anything could happen. And then there's the cost too, insurance money and reputation and so in that sense, if you had a disability such as autism, which is what I have, and you wanted to play for a club, you would go off to your little club. You would say, "Right, lads, I want to play," and they would, they'd give you some token role, ball boy, water boy, kit boy. At worst, you would just be in the stands, probably with a shirt and a pair of pom poms. That'd be the worst. Mixability changes the game completely. It gives you the chance to play, to show what you can do, and it doesn't matter if you've got a disability. It doesn't matter if you've autism, Asperger's, epilepsy. It doesn't matter if you've mental health issues, if you've got a injury, if you have depression, and then for players without disabilities, mixability cares to them too. You could be a total newbie. You could have had no experience. You could be senior. You could be under 18s. You could be J3, J2, J1. It doesn't matter. You could be retired. It doesn't matter. Mixability opens the door to everyone, and the great thing about it is that there's no competition. It's rugby just for the sake of rugby. It's social. It's fun. It's good spirited, good natured, and everyone's just there for a good old time. So.
That's a fantastic photo of all you guys at the high performance unit, isn't it? The high performance
center. That was a great day. It was really good seeing everyone again after lockdown and just being apart for the last 2 years.
Yeah, I see you.
It was really something. The high performance center. It's an excellent facility. Very, very, very well laid out, and just it's top tier, top quality, and I mean, hell, their 4G pitch is better than our 4G pitch, and that tells you something,
Yeah, I was there that day as well. It was just fantastic to see everybody, and as you say, especially after COVID, all the people getting together and networking as well, and of course we had Ian McKinney there too. former Leinster star and Italian national rugby player as well, talking about people playing ability rugby with sight impairments and things like that. It was really, really fascinating insight. It really, really was. It was a great day. All those facilities. So if you ever get the chance, anybody out there to go to it, I really, really encourage you to do so, because it's a fantastic, fantastic place. It really, really is.
And of course we've six mixed ability teams, on the island of Ireland, including yours. Cork seems to be a hotspot for MA rugby, doesn't it? With the West Cork Jesters and the girls down in Ballincollig as well. And you'll all be down there competing next week. Tell us, Richard, how did you get started in the game, and how long have you been playing?
Well, this takes us back to 2014. You might even go even further than that, because I've wanted to play since I was very young. I have rugby in my family. My uncle Niall and my cousins Conor, Tom, and Jack. They all used to play rugby themselves. They're all Pres boys now. Now I'm not. I didn't go to Pres or Christians or any of the major schools where they play rugby. I went to a different school, but I knew all about my cousins, and I'm pretty sure I saw at least one game where Conor was away playing for Highfield, and then as I got older, I started following Munster, and I started following Ireland, and I saw the two Heineken Cup wins in 2006, 2008, and then Ireland winning the Grand Slam in 2009. That was a great year. I remember that fondly. It was just, you had to be there. It was just such an experience. And after 61 years of waiting for, I mean, it was a great time to be alive. And having seen that, I thought, geez, this was great fun. I want in, but of course there were hurdles. There are always hurdles. One of those hurdles being fear of the unknown. My mom and my uncle. Now my uncle, he knows what the game's like, and I did too, and he would he and mom, they're close. They would talk a lot, and they would agree that the game I wouldn't be I wouldn't be able to keep up with the pace of the game, with the speed or with the intensity. But that didn't bother me. All I wanted was a chance to prove myself. And for a while there, I was just sad because I wasn't getting the opportunity. Anyway, this brings us to 2014. So I was home. Mum was home from work, and she had been told by a friend of ours about Sunday as well, and the meeting they were having that evening about something that was called mixed ability. Now, Gerry and Conor, I didn't know what the hell mixed ability was, because I had a very good idea what rugby was, and at that point in my life, I just felt there was no room for people with disabilities. There just wasn't. But I was curious, so I went along and I listened to what Alan had to say and what Liam had to say, and they showed us footage of a game over in England, Bradford playing Connectley, and it was eye opening. There was a lot I didn't know that I learned very quickly that evening, and then later that week on Friday, I went to the training, and it was this was it. This was my big break. This was my entry into rugby, and it's thanks to something as well. For that 8 years later, I'm here now. I have so many caps under my belt. I don't remember how many, and I'm captain in a World Cup year. So I am eternally grateful to them, and like this year, I intend to do them proud from the top brass down to the groundskeeper. I'm gonna go out there and just I'm gonna make them proud. I'll make them very proud.
Yeah, fantastic
Richard,
stuff.
you're an inspiration, Richard. Remember having a chat with you some months back, and you telling me what a big occasion IMART was going to be, and how you were going to lead your boys into battle, and I still have the message on my phone, like, and it's pure quality. We're going to have a look at the pools, Richard, and you can maybe talk us through some of the teams and who the major threats might be, and so maybe some of the personalities involved with some of the clubs that have been around a long time. There's a few Argentinian teams there. There's teams from England, Scotland, Wales, Spain, Italy. I know the Bumblebees there. Your friends. I know you play them there. We've the West Cork Jesters with Nobby and all his crew, Glenn Alexander. Some great characters down there, which I'm sure you know well. And of course, there's another Irish team, Malone Tornadoes from up in Belfast. You'll be familiar with all these guys. There's you. You've got Surrey Chargers in Implac, Billy URC from Italy, and Belgian guys, Heseli, Herton. Probably getting all my pronunciations totally wrong there. And of course, with the Banbridge Barbarians, great man Raymond Reid be leading them into battle. Of course, Banbridge and the Malone Tornadoes played recently in front of a full house at Ravenhill. And finally, we have the women's tournament. Our girls, Ciara Ahern and all her crew from Ballincollig Trailblazers, they'll actually be made up. They'll be joined in their squad by some of the ladies from West Cork Jesters, who'll all be competing under the Ballincollig flag for this tournament. And it's a special year for women's mixed ability, isn't it, Richard? The first time they've competed on the big stage.
Absolutely, and I'm thrilled for the girls. I actually happen to actually live up the road from Ballincollig from Tanner Park, so I'll be rooting for the girls too, for the Trailblazers.
Absolutely, and someone we can't have this interview without having a quick chat about Alan Crockwell. Just how big a figure and personality is he in mixed ability rugby, and what has he done for both you and for mixed ability rugby in Ireland?
Alan's been he's been massively influential. You know, this thing, like this wouldn't have been a thing without him. Like he saw it in a magazine one day, and he works over in Cope. Two of the lads he works with, Big Danny Lynch and James Healy, who I know very well. They're great lads. He asked them, do you guys want to play rugby? And the first thing they said to him was like either proper rugby or not at all. They weren't going to play tag rugby, okay? Because to us that's heresy. You know, we don't we do not waste our time with lesser sports like tag rugby. So Alan went to Liam, and they went to the board at the Well, and like, you know, fair play to the board, because they could have just as easily said no, we're not doing this, we're not taking the risk, but they did, because they thought, why not? Literally, just why not? And that's that's how it all began. Now, it wasn't plain sailing. We did face opposition from the IRFU, with good reason. You know, a bunch of traditional conservative old men. Picture them sitting around a massive oak table, wearing blazers, drinking like whiskey, and talking about their boys and prayers and Christians, you know. And do you know your boy? Ah, yeah, sure, I know your boy. He's a great old lad. He'll do great things from Munster, you know, and all that rot. But we like Alan kept working away, and we kept playing away, and it was just, I think it was around 2017, the year of the second World Cup, when the RFU finally came on board, and that was a massive monkey off our back, because It's thanks to the RFU too that this is happening. I mean, we wouldn't have gone to the high performance center without their help. We wouldn't have been able to get their referees trained up to officiate mixed ability games. They've been as much a help here as Alan has, and this is all thanks to Alan really that this is all is happening, and he's not here with us tonight, but I'm sure he would say as much,
Yeah, he's quite a guy, and like it's a testament to his leadership and his skills that the mixed ability rugby is where it is, and you guys are in a position where you can host such a big tournament, and I'm sure it's going to be a huge success. I'll be down there myself next Friday, cheering you on, Richard. I was only slagging earlier. I won't have my Ronan O'Gara moment. Yeah, I'll be supporting you all the way. And Friday is finals day. It kicks off Sunday with the opening ceremony.
Correct, yes.
You have matches Monday, Tuesday. Is that right? Rest day on Wednesday, and then you're into the playoffs on Thursday, and finals and closing ceremony on Friday. So I'm sure Alan Crock will take a bow, yeah, and I think hopefully there'll be a few drinks bought for Alan and everyone, Liam, and everyone involved, and all the head coaches across the island. I've spoken to them all, and a lot of the players at various stages throughout this year. As we covered mixed ability rugby with the ThreeBOD group and the group and with 4 provinces, some fantastic people, and the likes of Raymond and Ciara and Nobby and the guys up, Mr. Hicks up in De La Salle, and everyone involved, both on and off the pitch in mixed ability rugby, to bring it into the public consciousness and to grow a game that really represents all the core values of rugby. A game that's for everyone and that's inclusive and competitive and good fun. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So Gerry, any
I don't know. I mean, what do I say? I mean,
I'm hogging all the questions here.
Not at all, Richard. You're inspirational, and I'm actually the head coach for the Blue Dragons inclusive tag rugby team in Navan, the lesser sport. But the one thing I would like to say, and I bang on about it all the time when I talk about what we do, and everybody in life deserves a purpose, and everybody in life deserves to be able to play a sport with their peers, and that's something that's really, really important to me. It's important to you. It's important to Conor. It's important to Big Joe Shepherd. It's important to Nathan. Anyone that we have involved in this team, it's such an important thing. And I have to say, watching the last couple of weeks, the media coverage of the I March has been fantastic. National broadcaster has done 2 or 3 sections on it in the news, really pushing it, really bringing it out, up with its awareness. And I think you guys are going to do your team proud down there. I'm sorry I won't be able to get in there myself, but I look forward to seeing all the coverage and seeing all the footage online. It's more parity. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It really is. And I think the mixed ability rugby for us in Navan is definitely food for thought, but fair play to you. It's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely.
Thank you, Gerry. I mean, this is only the 3rd. Like, there'll be many more, and they're getting bigger and bigger. So just watch this space.
Yeah. And I'm sure the women's, it's only the start of for women's mixed ability, and like that's got huge growth potential as well. And of course those men's. But listen, Richard, I'll be down there next hoping to get down Thursday. I'll definitely be at all the matches Friday. Big Joe is going to be there. Catherine from the group. Gerry, our regular host. Gerald Williamson, or a regular rugby historian here. So there'll be a good crew of us down there to cheer you on. Look forward to meeting you all in real life after chatting to you. And wish you the very best of luck, of course, on the pitch. Hope you land the trophy. I know you've some stiff opposition there, but you're in a good spot. I know good people on and off the pitch. So best of luck, Richard, and thanks. The ThreeBOD group will be following it and reporting on the matches. So keep in touch, guys, and see you at Musgrave Park, Richard. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, lads.
Thanks a million, Richard, and the very, very best of luck to you. Yeah, fantastic stuff. And if anyone's in the south of the country next week, I think there's tickets still available. It's all in Musgrave Park. And be sure to go and check it out, because I'd say it's going to be an absolutely fantastic week.
Yeah, and tickets are free. Just have to register online and get your free tickets. Head down to Musgrave Park. Matches going on from 10 in the morning, all day, every day. And Mariana, you're going down. That's great. Another person I get to meet in real life for the first time. All this post-COVID.
I didn't get to meet her. She might be in a De La Salle the Blitz last week or the week before, so I can't remember. But anyway, time is moving on, my friend. Time is moving on, so we better move on to our next topic.
Okay.
So we're going to start talking about our quarterfinal game against Glasgow Warriors on, I think it's Saturday. Is it on Saturday?
Saturday at 3 o'clock. Yep.
Saturday at 3 o'clock, and let's hope they haven't been watching too much of what La Rochelle have been doing to Leinster last week and taking pointers from Ronan O'Gara. Or really going to be junction, you know. But it gives us great pleasure to introduce Mr. Iain HAY, who's a Scottish sports journalist. He's going to come along and talk to us all about Glasgow Warriors and where they've been at this season and what he predicts to be the outcome of the game on Saturday afternoon. A very, very welcome to you, Iain. It's my first time to talk to you. Thanks for coming on the show.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me. If you're expecting the chipper bombastic Scot, bigging up our chances on Saturday, you got the wrong guy, by the way.
Is John Anderson that guy?
Oh no, he's worse than me. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh. He dodged a bullet there, let me tell you. That's worse.
I think we divide the stupid question and like, how are you feeling about Saturday? What are your chances? Okay, let's turn around another way. Just why do you not rate your chances so poorly on Saturday from a Glasgow perspective?
The issue this season, and it has been. Right, I'll just go over like the whole Danny Wilson span for a while, shall I? Danny Wilson came in just before COVID, and the team was a bit of a shambles. Then when COVID hit, he wasn't able to make the recruitment he wanted, and a lot of time I was sitting with press conferences with him, and you could really sense the frustration, in everything he was saying, and he had been hamstrung by a lot of things. But then, we've recruited big, and, the first game of the season against Ulster was, narrow defeat away, which is a decent achievement. Got a bonus point from that one. Then we went on a 5-game winning streak, including beating Munster in a really tightly contested affair at Scotland. And then after that, it's all gone downhill. I think my friend, Mr. Anderson, he loves a good spreadsheet. He's calculated that, I think this is even before the Edinburgh game, there were 10 matches where we were either within 3 points at halftime or winning at halftime, and we've ended up losing them. 7 of them we were in winning positions at the 60-minute mark, and then have thrown it away. There has just been a constant thread of indiscipline. Sorry, this is just so negative, but I'm sure you're loving this. I'm just downplaying our chances, so when the big shock happens, I'm going to make a bank at Paddy Power.
Playing the Mocker gods.
Yeah, but it's just been, it's been a consistent issue. Ill discipline, throwing leads away, and one of the problems with the ill discipline thing is it's not the young guys that are doing it. It's the leadership group. When you've got your captains meant to be setting an example, and they're the ones giving away daft penalties. Like against Edinburgh, the Edinburgh game was shameful, by the way. I went through to Murrayfield and I was sitting up in the gods. Usually my seat at Scotstoun's quite low down. And you could just see the massive holes in the defensive line. Just no work rate to get across the pitch. And Ryan Wilson, Glasgow had a penalty inside the Edinburgh 22. He gets involved in some handbags. The penalty's reversed. And that's your captain doing that. So I do not have much hope for this weekend at all, especially facing a rather angry Leinster, who, they love a bit of silver, don't they? So this is what they've got to go for.
Yeah. Does that come back on the? Do you think that comes back on the head coach then? Like when the discipline is so poor and you're not turning advantageous positions into wins?
I think it does, yes. Because we hear the same things week after week. Oh, we'll learn from this. Oh, it's been an issue. It's like, yeah, we know it's an issue. Everyone knows it's an issue. Fix the thing. This is what you're paid to do. And there has been some, backroom reshuffling. Like Nigel Carolan came in as attack coach, sort of halfway through the season, because John Dale, I think, went off. But the thing with Glasgow is now there are a lot of good players there. Rory Darge, who is unfortunately injured, he's come in. He won Players Player of the Year, Fans Player of the Year for the Warriors. I don't know if you saw him playing for Scotland. I guess he had a great game against France.
Very impressive,
yeah. He's a real talent. He's like Mish T1000. As sort of early signs of him. Jack Dempsey's come in, and I think he's been the best overseas signing we've made in years. He's been the number 8 we've been asking for since Josh Strauss left.
That's an interesting one. Sorry to cut across you, Ian, but it's been a big topic in the news this week, and I see John Barkley was outspoken in his views on the possibility of Jack Dempsey, former Australian international 15 test caps under the new eligibility rules, possibly playing for Scotland this year. How do you feel about that?
Well, I wouldn't mind it at all, because it would make our team stronger. I know there's a lot of discussion and argument about eligibility rules, but I think what we have to accept that the world is a big, wide, open place now. There's a lot of, even John Barkley was born in Singapore, I think it was. Lived in Singapore until he was like 7 years old. Is it fair that somebody goes from, obviously this rule was brought in to help the Pacific Island nations. Is it fair that somebody goes from a tier 1 to a tier 1? Possibly not. But Dempsey is, he's not come out and said, yes, I want to play for Scotland. He's actually been more sort of, well, if I could, I would actually still like to play for Australia again. I think he's got, it's 23 caps. And, he's...
23, is it? Sorry.
I think it's about that. I've not checked. You can stat check that later. But, this is at a time when Hooper and Pocock were playing. So you have to be a damn good player to get into that squad. And he is an extremely good player. And again, this is one of the issues is I look at that Glasgow team. Obviously it's not the one that had Finn Russell and Stuart Hogg and Tommy Seymour at his peak and Johnny Gray and all that. But there's some damn good players on that team list. And they are not achieving the sum of their parts.
And that's what you want ultimately. I think we could get into the whole player leaving conversation, but I think that's for another show. Like the fact that Hogg and Gray and Russell and all them star players have been all your marquee players have been allowed to leave rather than being kept in the Scottish system.
Yeah, I think that the salary caps kind of helped. The English salary caps helped because Hugh Jones is coming back, which I'm very excited about because I felt he got really badly treated when he first came here. He went straight from Currie Cup. He had a full South African season, and then he had to go into a full European season, and he wasn't given a proper chance by Dave Rennie. I felt. I think he's become a more rounded player as well now. So I'm delighted to see him back.
Always a dangerous opponent.
So
Sorry, Jerry.
Where's it going to be won and lost on Saturday, Ian? Where are the key areas going to be? Set piece, breakdown. Don't talk to me about breakdowns. From our last excursion to France.
Well, the breakdown's always the key battle, isn't it? I mean, it's going to be won, well, usually by the better team, but it's the one who gets the ref on his side, mainly. Look, like Glasgow set piece has been pretty solid this season, and again, this is one of the upsetting things. It's like, I think Richie Gray was leader laying out steals up until at least 3-4 weeks ago. He's obviously an incredible weapon at that, and off the back of that, Johnny Matthews is our top scorer this season, scoring off the back of mauls mainly. He's come up through Super Six, to become second choice hooker, I'd say now. I think Leinster will win due to the fact they have better structure. They know their system. They are far more organised than we are. We often look ramshackle. I don't fancy our chances, to be honest. I think Scott Cummings is our best lock.
I think you've made that pretty clear.
Yeah, Scott Cummings is our best lock because he's injured. Rory Darge is injured. Matt Fagerson, who I'm a massive fan of, he's out injured as well. So it's about getting the blend right. I mean, Rob Harley, as great as a servant he's been to Glasgow, and I am slightly sad to see him go, he's just become a penalty machine. And I don't like him playing at lock. I feel he's fell in there. You want him being a proper nuisance at the breakdown as a flanker. Because I remember an interview with him a couple of years ago, and it was Tom English, the journalist Tom English. He'd overheard some Irish coaches talking about who they thought was the most. He didn't name them, but he said I overheard Irish club coaches talking about who the most annoying player in the league was, and they both said Rob Harley, just because he's the captain.
Yeah.
SHIT house. No, I do think that Leinster, they have a game plan. I mean, they've won every Pro 14. They're one of the best teams in the world. They're on the home patch and they're annoyed. I think they've got the beating of us in pretty much every department, to be honest. It's from an answer. I'm just hearing like Simon Garfunkel in my head. It's just everything's gone grey.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep. Oh, but honestly, like the Edinburgh game, just me, Cammy, who hosts the podcast that I'm on, he lives in Leeds, and he'd use some of our Patreon money to buy tickets for us all. And I wanted to leave at half time. I was just like, we're just going to get scalped. Everything's gotten horribly wrong. And I do think it's system and fitness, because a lot, like I said, we've been winning games at the 60-minute mark, and then everything just goes. We start seeing people ambling about. It's weird. I was looking at stats earlier. Glasgow have got the top tackle success rate. They've got 92% tackle success rate in the league. But I think that's because they make all the tackles early, and then they're just too knackered to make them later. So that's when the teams put the points on.
But everything you're saying there points to the fact that Glasgow clearly have talent there and ability. Their possession stats are good. They're getting themselves into positions to win, and things just aren't going right for them for whatever reason. Whether it's a combination of fitness and poor leadership, tactics or management, or a lack of self-belief there, things have spiraled a bit for them. But from a Leinster perspective, Gerry, what sort of team do you expect us to line out on Saturday, and where's the game to be won for us?
Good question, actually. I was only thinking about it earlier on. Were they going to go with a similar crew that they had out against Munster? Are they going to do that, or are they going to throw their kitchen sink at it? I have a funny feeling they'll put out a similar side to what they put out against Munster.
Yeah, I do too. I'd be happy with that team. There's a lot of young talent in that team, and you know, some of the combinations have been working very well. You know, Frawley and Osborne in the centre has been brilliant. Some more game time for the likes of Joe McCarthy and Scott Penny, who's been excellent.
I think we'll see a lot of the similar vein to the early on in Saturday's game against La Rochelle. That quick ruck ball, you know, out the back quick, everyone set up ready to roll. There probably won't be anywhere near as, no disrespecting, but probably nowhere anywhere near as much disruption at the ruck on this coming Saturday for us. So it'll probably be able to play a little bit more rugby perhaps. But then again, you never know. Glasgow will have to play what's in front of them, and they might just rise to the occasion. But yeah, I reckon it'll probably be a similar setup to Munster, and they'll have a solid set piece hopefully, and take it from there. You know, take it from there. We need a little bit of purpose in our lives.
Right.
Yeah. So I was just thinking when you said about ruck disruption, I was like, oh, Tom Gordon might be playing. I think Tom Gordon got injured against Edinburgh. He's pretty handy at the breakdown, but oh no,
yeah, he is.
Another
one
bites the dust.
He likes to plough the road, you know. Yeah. He likes to plough the road. Right. Okie dokie. Well, look, you know what? Good luck on Saturday, whatever happens.
I will need it. Thank you.
Rugby's a funny old game, and seasons roll on, and you never know. Sometimes somebody might come into Glasgow and untangle all the knots.
Yeah, no,
play pretty bow and make it all work. You know.
You know, I remember a couple of years ago, I think you'd been on quite a long unbeaten run at home, and then we turned up and turned you over. It's a game where Johnny Gray made like 42, 43 tackles.
Yeah.
As well, what people forget about that game was just behind him was Matt Fagerson with 38, which puts him second in the all-time list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fagerson. I think Fagerson only missed 2. No, we know Johnny Gray never misses one.
He never misses them. No. He's always there, like on the fringes, making them tackles.
One of the greatest stats I ever heard. There's a guy called Kevin Miller who does stats for the Glasgow Warriors and also the Scottish Rugby blog who I write for. And he said that Johnny Gray's tackle success rate at the time was something like 98.2%. He said that's actually statistically safer than a condom. It's like Johnny Gray is safer than a Johnny. Yeah, it was a big difference.
Durex should bring out with Johnny Gray.
Johnny Gray range.
The safest one we ever had.
Oh, wow. Well, on that bombshell, and that profound statement of truth and scientific facts, be it rugby or in other departments, we'll let you go in. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. We hope to have you on again. And sure, we might shoot the breeze down the road over the game, and you can give us your viewpoint as well. And as I say, hopefully someone will come in and untangle all the knots and tie pretty bro for Glasgow and get them flying again. So thanks again for coming on the show.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ian.
I'd wish you good luck, but I wouldn't really mean it. So we'll maybe see you in a final some other time.
Absolutely. You take care. Oh, well, brilliant. That guy's a tonic. Fantastic.
Yeah, he's always a good guy. Follow him on Twitter and his podcast. And he's an interesting fella.
Time's rolling on.
Miles over time, Army.
But Joe's going to be banging the table in the truck, but we have to do this last piece. This is really, really special. It's really, really cool. It's retro. This is a guy who did 2 stints at Leinster, was hugely influential in the team's success over many, many seasons. He is one of the good guys, and he's one of the greats. And this week, Big Joe Shepherd got to catch up with none other than Isa Nasewa. And this is his interview. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this month's Leinster Laighin show. Thanks for getting this opportunity to get the little tiny bit in. Not in the TMO truck producing as normal, but there we go. On tonight's little chat, I am chatting with a true blue Leinster legend for you. He is now back home in his native Auckland. He played for Auckland, he played for the Blues, he played for Leinster in 2 periods. And in fact, he had, if I remember rightly, 185 appearances with 706 points, including in 2018, kicking the winning point against Racing 92 in the European Champions Cup. Please welcome, my great pleasure, Isa Nasewa.
G'day.
How are you, mate?
Very good, man. Very good.
Thanks for taking the time. I know it's sort of 8 o'clock in the morning. Is that 9 o'clock in New Zealand now?
8 o'clock in the morning here.
8 o'clock for you, mate. Yeah, awesome.
I've been up since 5:30 with my little one. That's an early riser, so this is late.
Good man yourself. Listen, straight into it. Give us a little brief overview of you, and I know you're from Auckland, but how did you get into rugby in the first place?
Oh, look, I was just typical Kiwi kid, born and raised in New Zealand. Grew up with a great family, 3 older sisters and an older brother who, two of them were really good sports. 2 of my sisters were really good athletes. But yeah, I just grew up, playing cricket, playing rugby, doing athletics, anything I could get my hands on, really. And, rugby just naturally took over. But, it's not too different to every other kid, every other 5-year-old in New Zealand that starts their journey out playing rugby, really. But I really enjoyed rugby when I was younger. I enjoyed rugby at school. It was fun. I think I loved the team aspect of it. When I think back about it now, I didn't really like athletics. I might have been half decent at it, but it's such an individual sport. I think I like the comforts of having people around me and winning together. But yeah, I wasn't your typical schoolboy star. I probably blossomed quite late in that aspect. So I just grew up with a rugby ball in my hand. Every photo I have when I was younger, I had a rugby ball. Even when I, mucking around with mates at school, we always had a rugby ball, and it just sort of grew from there, really. Awesome.
What does rugby do for you? As a player now and still as a fan, and it's in your DNA. Isn't it? It can really, but what does it do? What did it do for you? What was rugby about for you?
Well, when I think back about that, I think, rugby had already turned professional. I'm not that old, but I wasn't too far removed from there. So there was sort of like a real transition period in when I sort of decided to take it seriously. I probably didn't early on. When I left school, I was more interested in going to university and maybe traveling overseas and doing an OE, sort of a rite of passage for a lot of people here in New Zealand. I really wanted to travel the world, really. But I think what did rugby give me? Some people really invested in me. Some great coaches in the past invested in me, and I've got this deep sense of loyalty to sort of repay that. And there was just a really few good people that influenced me to say, hey, why don't you actually just give it a crack first? If it wasn't for them, I could have taken a very different path. And then, things started to go a little bit right. And then I think mentally I probably made that decision to say, I can make a living out of this. And I'd rather do that than go down my university path. But I was ticking away at university in the background because I always knew it was something to fall back on. But I think when I really knew I could give it a crack, and then I just thrived on competition, really. Pretty competitive now. I think my wife will still tell me that. It's a different type of competitiveness, but I think I thrived on that and just always trying to get better. And that's just what kept me involved with it for so long.
Good man yourself. Leinster, two spells at Leinster. What brought you to Leinster, and why Leinster in the first instance?
Michael Checker brought me to Leinster. I remember having a coffee with him in Mount Eden in a cafe. He flew all the way down to meet, I think, myself and CJ Vanderlinde, who was playing for the Cheetahs in Super Rugby at the time and happened to be in New Zealand. And I knew what I was coming to. I knew the caliber of players I was lucky to be joining. But Chex had a vision. And he's relentless in that vision. So I think, again, that sort of loyalty, we shook hands and we agreed there. And that was my journey to Leinster. But I'd already spent 5 years playing Super Rugby. I was ineligible to play for the All Blacks. And I think that sort of urge to see the world and see rugby as a really cool avenue to see the world, that drove me on too. So I didn't want to sit around in New Zealand and continue playing Super Rugby and ITM Cup or Mitre 10 Cup. I didn't want to be the last of my crew to still be there. And a lot had already moved on post the 2007 World Cup. I left a year later. So I think that drive to, see rugby again that could, make a living out of it, travel and see the world. And also been going to a team like Leinster that I knew wanted to play rugby and throw the ball around. Chex is the defining factor that actually made me go and all of that.
Awesome. What was the best moment during either of your spells over here in Ireland? What was the greatest thing for you?
I'd say there was sort of two really key moments. I think one was my 100th game. That was such an achievement. It was just a game at the RDS. It wasn't anything special. Well, every game at the RDS is special, but I didn't want, I still didn't want to lead the team out. I was just happy that I played 100 games. So that was a really special moment for me. But also sort of captaining Leinster, that meant the world to me. It didn't have to be on the stage of the finals or leading the team out like that. There was just this deep sense of pride to see who had gone before me, who had been, given the role and the responsibility of captain. And I think, coming back my second time, I captained the team one or two times during Joe Schmidt's era when a lot of the internationals were away, but to actually do that formally alongside Leo Cullen, it just gave me that extra sense of loyalty to repay him, to repay the staff, to repay everyone at Leinster, really. So, yeah, I really loved that role dearly. Didn't matter what type of game it was, whether it was home, away, quarters, semis, finals, away to Dragons, away to Connacht. I just really loved that responsibility.
Just for you. What, from a player's point of view, when you win a big championship, 4 European championships, Pro 12, 14 titles, etc., Amelin Cup, excuse me, when you win a big trophy, how do you rise again? I mean, we talked offline briefly before we started recording about the bar for some teams like Leinster or the Sarries or Toulon, Toulouse, any Super Rugby teams, the top ones. It's up there all the time. There's no other place than winning. But how do you rise again after you've won a major trophy?
Man, I found it really easy. Like, bugger it, we've just won Europe, let's go win another one. Like, that's the mentality. It's not, and to be honest, sometimes it's just a relief to win. And I say that because it's like the season, it's not just one game. Like, everything goes on in the dark months leading up till Christmas, and then when internationals are away, and then Six Nations periods when they're away playing, Six Nations or internationals away, and it all culminates in one day. But so much effort goes on throughout the whole season, sort of 11 months, every training, to then be performed in one day. So sometimes you get there, I actually just, would win Europe and just take a big sigh of relief. But then as soon as you've done the celebratory lap and you get back in the change room, I'm like, let's just go win another one. And that's, we ballsed up the double a few times and losing the following week. And that always, that always sat in the pit of my stomach all summer. Go from the absolute heights and then go and lose a Pro 14. That really killed me. So I think, it's just that mentality of being at the top. It's bloody lonely at the top. Every other person wants to beat you. Every other person wants your scalp. So, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. That's that real mentality of winning and continually winning and consistently winning. I've done a lot of research on sort of why teams perform and how they perform, and I love following the San Antonio Spurs and the NBA because they're one of the most consistent team across 25 years because they will always be in the quarterfinals to semifinals at a minimum. So when you're dealing in that sort of eliteness, then, there is only one option, and that's winning and walking away with trophies. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I know there's other teams that would thrive to make quarterfinals or a semi-final or, bust everything to get out of group stages. I'm like, that bar's too low for Leinster's standards. And I'm just lucky that I was sort of a part of that sort of mentality because it goes a long way, and the younger people coming through start to think like that and breed like that. So the evolution of Leinster compared to a lot of other places, the likes of Saracens or the Toulouse or La Rochelle now, they're well down the track compared to a lot of the majority of other teams.
Mm. And what that leads us in really well. Somebody watching this might think I actually set some questions for you tonight. This is fun. losing last weekend was, and take nothing away from La Rochelle. You know, Rogers has done a fantastic job. You know, for a place that really shouldn't be where they are, and that's absolutely superb. From Leinster's point of view, losing, how do you then go again after such a big loss for like this week's quarterfinal against Glasgow in the URC?
Yeah, man, it's so emotionally taxing. It's so emotionally taxing coming off losing semi-finals or finals. You know, you've almost got to empty the cup post that match to refill it and start again. But with professional sport, and as we know with Glasgow a few days away, sometimes that has to be done really, really quickly. But you also look at how much Leinster, how much effort they put around selection and the timing of teams that are playing throughout the whole year, because there was a whole team that absolutely performed against Munster in a week leading up to the final. And that core group of guys have been playing together just because of the shape of the season and the way a trip to South Africa or internationals being away. All of those things tie into them actually, probably a large chunk of them will be the ones running out this weekend. And I think, you know, the coaches at Leinster and the ethos of the mentality is it doesn't matter who is running out. There's still the expectation to perform. But also, if you have performed so far, you'll get the opportunity to run out there. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's, you know, quite a few guys rested. There will be quite a few guys involved. But, you know, the team that performed against Munster only 7 days prior to the final, they'll be itching at the bit to get out there, which is super important, because then it's a full squad that's really carrying you through the season.
Yeah, and I love that squad approach. I know it's not for everybody, but you know, look what we did in South Africa recently, and actually it doesn't matter about the results. Results don't really necessarily always matter for me. It's how we play and how we build, and that layer system as we keep going. I think for me that's what drives a really successful club on.
Yeah, because like a lot of people say, oh, you know, you're so inexperienced. You know, these players, you know, some of them are only single cap. Well, you can't get to 100 caps until you've played 100 caps. So it's like, hey, let them go out there, let them perform. But, you know, Jordan Lama, all these guys that stood up against Munster, they wanted to be involved. They played out of their skin. And I'm pretty sure Leo and Stewart and the likes, they'll reward those guys, and they'll be the team running out against Glasgow. And you got a feel for some of the guys that would have come off that La Rochelle game pretty battered. And they'll need some time to recuperate and get better. And, you know, what better than a quarterfinal? Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to, if you want another week of rugby, if you want another 80 minutes, you've got to perform this week.
Absolutely. Mentor, who was the biggest positive effect on your life during your rugby career?
Oh, there's many. Early on, these are names that you wouldn't, you know off the top of your book, but guys like Justin Collins and Nick White, these are the guys that sort of brought me through an older generation that just had sort of standards light years above everyone else. I was lucky to learn off those guys, and they put me on the straight and narrow pretty early in my career. They would kick me in the ass or tell me to pull my head in if things weren't going good. So I learned a lot of my traits of leadership from them. You know, but I've also been coached by Sir Graham Henry, Pat Lamb, Joe Schmidt, David Michael Checker, and then the back end with Leo Cullen and Stuart Lancaster. Like, I have taken so many nuggets of gold from all of them to shape me sort of who I am as a person, who I try to be as a leader. And, you know, I'm still in regular contact with Leo and Stuart. And even, you know, Leo's you know, such a humble person, no ego. Like, I learned so much from that alone. And he has the highest of standards, and his ability to plan ahead is super impressive. And then, you know, I still regularly catch up with Stuart because he's really pushed me from a leadership point of view, still continues to in life after rugby, and challenged me in other ways. So I really like the leaders that are happy to share a lot of information. That's always one of my biggest takeaways now is, do you know what? Just share the information with people because it'll come back to you in bucket loads. So I really like Stuart's approach in that.
Oh, he said, I could. I know we've only got a short time with you today, but I'm really going to put you on the spot now publicly and say, listen, can we get you back on to do a full-length show with you? Because I think that there is so much about your journey and the stuff about when you were doing the mental skill stuff for the Blues and since, and what drives you now. As you said, your wife would say, you're still very competitive, so we'd like to get you back on for that. But I think just one final question, and we'll leave all the rest till next time. Would you come back into coaching again? Would you ever come back to Ireland to Leinster? Because I honestly, genuinely, everybody would love to see you come back here. There was some rumours in the last couple of weeks with Felipe going.
Oh man, yeah. I've got nothing but respect for Felipe. I love that guy to death. I mean, I would love to. I'd love to when the timing's right, though. It's not until you step away from professional sport that you understand the real pressures of living in professional sport. When you live that lifestyle, and if you commit to it and go 110%, like that's the expectation. But I have my weekends off. And I know how simple that sounds, but I always say that to ex-professional people and they laugh because it's like, oh, I get it. And, I just love the weekends. I love being able to attend my girls' school sports or horse riding or go surfing, which is my piece at the moment. I get to do all that, and, I'm motivated in the role that I am now to continue to build the team and the culture that I'm a part of. But I would love to get back to Dublin at some stage when the timing is right. Just to continue to build on what Leinster are doing. I'd love to be a part of that at some stage. I really would.
Super. We'll hold you to that then at some point when the time is right. And when the time is right for you, we'll get you back on to do a full show. But for now, Isa, listen, thanks very much for coming on and taking the time. The viewers will really, really appreciate it. We love you here, mate. You know that. And you'd be welcome back anytime. We'll see you soon.
Cheers. Cheers for having me on, Joe.
Fantastic. What a way to end the show.
What a man! What strikes me like watching that interview is like there he is, like he's a player of incredible talents, incredible rugby intelligence, supreme work ethic. But what strikes me like is his sheer sense of humility. Talking about the constant theme of that interview was gratitude towards the people who've helped him along the way, a desire to repay, talking about the nuggets of gold he's taken from every coach, and talking about repaying. Jesus, Isa, you owe nobody anything in terms of rugby. What you've done for Leinster rugby and Irish rugby, the whole culture, the club, and you've been involved in every European success. You've helped the players come through. So you really owe nobody anything. But
just to say something with that picture that Joe flashed up, that was in Navan in 2016. It's hard to believe it's 6 years ago. In August 2016, we were privileged to have Leinster and Ulster play a pre-season challenge match. And they're my two boys with my wife, and my nephew's just tucked in there behind Isa's nose. But at the end of the game, Isa and Say went around the pitch, signed every single autograph that was asked of him, stood for every photograph that was asked of him, spoke to all the kids, spoke to everyone whoever wanted to talk to him, was so given of his time. And it was a real measure of the guy, he was so selfless. Yeah. And, as you said, he alluded that to in his interview. There's lots and lots of gratitude there, and he's just a bloody great guy.
Yeah, fantastic, man.
So and looking forward to that show.
Yeah, that's getting eyes on for a full length show would be absolutely fantastic. It's no better man to listen to or to learn from. So that's something to keep an eye on, guys. If you're watching, we'll have Ease on the Sewa on a live show for a full hour.
Yeah, fantastic. We better wrap up before Joe pulls the plug.
I suppose we better,
Yeah,
yeah.
20 minutes. The longest
Electricity bill
thing
will be getting high.
Yeah, look, listen, everybody, thanks a million for tuning in tonight. It's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you all, and a very, very special thanks to our guests, Richard Philpott of the Rebels, Iain Hay over in Glasgow, and of course Iain HAY as well. Big thanks to the organisation who are supporting Rugby Academy Ireland, Chef's Blend from Coffee Dog and PGM Financial Services. And a big thanks to BJS himself in the truck tonight. Sorry we ran over, but sure you can chastise us in some way you see fit down the road. And Conor, a pleasure to talk with you tonight, and thanks a million. Enjoy Cork.
Thanks, Gerry. Pleasure to host with you as always. And don't forget, guys, you can follow the ThreeBOD group on Facebook, on Twitter, and all your socials. And keep you up to date with all the shows coming up from around the world.
And enjoy the game on Saturday. Take care, folks. Thanks a million.
Right.